was 1969. One of my patients had a cardiac arrest. Together with the staff, I did everything possible to restore the heart rhythm. 4 minutes later, the patient came to. Everyone was happy about this, except for the patient himself. He was very upset, said something about a tunnel, beautiful sounds, and landscapes. However, I knew from my studies that during cardiac arrest, a person cannot be aware of anything. Cardiologist Pim Lommel shared such a case from his practice. As a cardiologist, Pim Lommel faced death every day. For many years, the doctor did not care whether there was anything after it. But in 1986, Lommel lost his mother. After that, he began to systematically ask his patients who had survived cardiac arrest whether they retained memories of this period. When conducting his survey, the cardiologist was surprised that every fourth patient shared some memories of what they experienced during cardiac arrest. Most often, these memories were positive. This is exactly what a 22-year-old patient named Vicky, who was blind from birth, remembered. All my life, I have not seen anything, no light, no shadows. Some of my friends asked me if I see darkness. But I don't see that either. I don't see anything at all, even when I sleep. In my dreams, I can only feel. For example, smell, taste, hear sounds, touch objects. However, I have never had to see a single visual image during sleep, Vicky said. When Vicky's heart stopped, she was able to see herself for the first time. She watched what was happening, taking a position above her body. Vicky recognized herself by her wedding ring and hair, which she only knew by touch. At first, Vicky felt fear, because she had not seen the world before this incident. Having become accustomed to new sensations, Vicky looked at her body with complete alienation. She watched the doctors working on him and thought that they were fussing in vain. When Vicky was wondering if her condition could be considered death, she passed through the ceiling as if it was not there. I liked my new condition. I could move around without fear of bumping into an obstacle. Some kind of incomparable music began to reach me from above. I was carried towards the source of the sound. I saw trees and birds. I met people on my way. Their bodies were made of light. To all the questions that arose in me, I received an instant answer. It seemed to me that I had all the knowledge I needed, Vicky recalled. During her journey, Vicky met the deceased Mrs. Zilk, who sometimes looked after her as a child. Vicky's grandmother, who raised her, was also there. She died 2 years ago. The grandmother reached out to her granddaughter, trying to hug her. But then Vicky felt that she was going down. A moment later, she was back in her body. Recalling this incident, Vicky said, "Now I know that there is something after life, and it is something very good." According to Pim Lommel, what Vicky saw is impossible according to current scientific understanding. However, Vicky's story contained facts that were later confirmed. Therefore, the memories of this patient cannot be considered fiction. Most often, I heard stories from my patients who survived cardiac arrest about beautiful places, amazing buildings and cities flooded with light. However, after life ends, people see not only light, but also darkness. About 1 to 2% of my patients reported a frightening dark space from which they could not escape, notes Pim Lommel. In such cases, people remained in the darkness until they returned to their body. The memories of such people are completely devoid of positive emotions. Patients who have been in the dark feel fear and guilt, so, according to Lommel, they often keep silent about their experiences. One of the cardiologist's patients said that he saw a dark tunnel, and then fell into it and flew down at great speed. It seemed to him that someone threw him head first into this black hole. He flew in absolute darkness and saw nothing. When I was falling, I heard someone screaming, a terrifying laugh, similar to a screech. Soon in the darkness I began to distinguish creatures that disgusted me with their appearance. They tried to grab me. I remembered God and began to beg for mercy. And then I heard the voices of doctors who brought me back to life, said Pim Lommel's patient. A patient named George received a similar otherworldly impression. During cardiac arrest, he found himself on the edge of a vast flat plain, which was filled with angry, ghostly, disembodied creatures that only slightly resembled humans. Patients who have been in the dark feel fear and guilt, so, according to Lommel, these creatures were grimacing and trying to hit each other with their fists. It seemed as if they were stomping on each other's heads. But, watching from the side, George saw that these creatures could not cause any harm to others, because they had no flesh. Studying the stories of his patients who survived cardiac arrest, Pim Lommel came to the conclusion that our consciousness is eternal. It has always been and always will be, regardless of the presence of a body. Just as there is no beginning and end to the universe, so there will never be an end to our consciousness. At the moment of physical death, it continues to experience in a dimension invisible to us, where the past, present and future are infinite. Therefore, death and birth should be viewed as a transition from one state of consciousness to another, believes Pim Lommel.